I'm Mark Seifter.
And I'm Linda Zayas Palmer.
And this is Arcane Mark.
And today we have Calliope Taylor with us. Welcome, Calliope. Thanks for joining us.
Hi.
But before we get to the interview, let's talk a little bit about upcoming stuff, which also includes upcoming episodes. So, Saturday, we are going to have GM Tools Thinking in 3D. Then, on this coming Tuesday, is most popular episode in voting so far, Linda's Plushie Corner. Then, after that, we're going to be interviewing customer service representative Joanne Hong next week, this time. And then, Saturday the 23rd is going to be Linda's Adventures Council of Thieves. Then, PaizoCon online happens that next week, so we're not having any programming, but come for a meetup in the Discord, and that'll be cool. After PaizoCon online is over, we have that Tuesday the 2nd of June is going to be Mark's Adventures War for the Crown finale. June 4th, interviewing art director Kent Hamilton, and June 11th, organized play manager Tanya Woldridge.
We know so many upcoming episodes.
That's right.
So much.
And the schedule is now up for PaizoCon online. So
Oh man, where can people find that?
they can find it on paizo.com/community/blog/v5748.
Oh come on, just throw a link in the chat. That's like, I know that our Discord link was bad for a while, but that's like a whole new level.
That's
Oh wait,
a lot
no,
of
that's the
numbers and
wrong.
letters.
That's the wrong one. That's the one about the special events that doesn't have any information. Sorry, don't go to that one. It's useless. Go to this one. This one is useful. Here we go. This one.
All right. I
right.
indicated the one
Click
to
on the
ignore.
second
The
one.
one's good.
It actually has the event schedule. You can
Hi,
see
Eljo.
all
Hi,
sorts
Donut.
of
Hi, Risky.
great things
Hi, everybody.
are going to
Hi,
be
Risky.
on there during
Hi,
PaizoCon.
Trippy. I agree. Yay, customer service.
Yay! So you can see on this schedule that there's going to be about 4 things per day, 3 panels, and like a live play, and then on Saturday and Sunday, some more live plays and special stuff.
And
So
if you want to watch that, go to twitch.tv/officialpaizo.
that's right, and it'll be during that slot that we said was PaizoCon Online, with panels such as Organized Play, Pathfinder 2nd Edition Advanced Player's Guide, Pathfinder RPG Q&A, and more. So just check out the link that I sent you, and you'll see about that. Also, if you weren't here last time, there is an article in Game Trade Magazine with a preview of the Advanced Player's Guide that you can find here at Alliance Games. So click on that link if you want to see an article with some more information about the Advanced Player's Guide,
Including the Dompier.
including the entire Dompier. And Stephen Glicker reminds you not to forget about Roll for Combat's event on that event schedule. So, I think that's all we have upcoming. It's a lot. Let's do our thank you.
The ones that he listed were very specifically the panels we're in. Although I think I just got pulled into another panel
I
yesterday.
think you are, but the description incorrectly states someone else is being in it.
So we'll wait for that to update
Yes.
on the back end.
I mean, it's the person who was originally going to be in the panel, but doesn't have the tech for it.
Rico says whoever wrote that article sure made it seem like it was a cool book.
I
don't know,
wonder who wrote it. Actually, it's in really small print, but you can see that it's me.
Whoever wrote that article, is probably on the design team or something.
Might even be the design lead for that book. It's possible. And we do try to get the lead to write the article. All right.
Speaking of things that are tiny, tiny.c/arcanemark is our new link to join the Discord.
There you go.
So if you're not already on the Discord, you are welcome to join us there.
Get on it now. All right. So, I think we're ready for our actual interview.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do our fake YouTube introduction. And is this all plugged in because something happened? It looked like the power was plugged in.
Looked like it was
but
too. Let's just give that
let's
a
just
moment,
make sure we don't have a
that's
blip before we do our
fully
fake
plugged in,
YouTube
but we're not
intro.
having it sure enough.
Plug everything in.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah, something seems to be happening here
Okay, that looks better.
in terms of the stream.
Oh, is it still?
Yeah, it's blipping me. But
So-
I still see you, Calliope, so I think that it's...
Okay,
Not
it
the
looks
internet.
fine on here.
Yeah, it always looks fine
Yeah.
on there.
Alright,
Alright, is everybody else having lots of blips like I am? Or maybe it's just my computer that's watching the stream that's having the blip. And not everybody else. No, okay. Yeah, it's just my computer that's watching the stream.
Your computer that's watching the stream is just being
It's just
being
being
grouchy,
a little
I guess.
grouchy.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I'm glad to know that it's not a problem for anyone else.
It's
'cause,
they have updated like the Twitch this like watching your own channel with a bunch of weird extra stuff today, so it might be that it is glitching out on that regard.
Yep.
All right, well, great. I usually use that to see if we are going up or down, so let's do a fake intro. I'm Mark Seifter,
And I'm Linda Zayas Palmer.
and this is Arcane Mark. Welcome, everyone, to Arcane Mark Asks Calliope Taylor. And welcome, Calliope, customer service representative for Paizo.
I'm so excited to be here.
So glad to have you.
So we always start with the same two questions for everybody because it's so interesting to see how it's different for each person. And our first question is, please give your favorite of how did you get started with tabletop RPGs, or how did you get started playing Pathfinder, or both if they segue together.
They'll probably segue. We'll see how it goes.
All right.
I started playing tabletop RPGs in, I think, junior year of high school, so like 2008. And my very first RPG was Rogue Trader, which was a really crunchy one to get started on in terms of like just the amount of rules to realize. And I think I made like the most edgy generic. Everybody makes their edgy character in the first run. But yeah, I played that on like a whim. I started hanging out with a bunch of nerds, and it spread rapidly, and then I became one of them, and remain one to this day. So I went from Rogue Trader to I think 4th edition D&D, which was very short-lived, mercifully. And then from there, kind of scattered around in some, let's see, I did a stint with the Star Wars RPGs for a while, which was really fun. And I just kind of really not lapsed into, but got into being kind of forever GM for our group right off the bat, which I love GMing, so it works out pretty well. But I moved to North Carolina probably 4 years ago now, and that was my first time actually playing a Pathfinder game. We played Hell's Rebels, and I played a vigilante, which was possibly the best thing ever. All of my Pathfinder characters have been Pharasma worshippers insofar, and my vigilante Cheslaw was a Raven mask wearing vigilante that ran around helping with the rebellion.
What was
That
your
sounds
vigilante focus? Were you a stalker, an avenger, or one of the
God, I
archetypes?
can't remember. I think it was one of the archetypes. I remember that I had the whole. It's been like 2.5 years, so I can't recall off the top of my head. But I remember that I had the whole the alternate identity, and I wasn't very good in combat, so that might narrow it down.
Did you have any magic?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
So, did you have a transformation sequence and like a little animal?
I did.
Okay,
Yes.
you were a magical girl.
Yes, I was.
Or
As soon as
magical
you said
child. Yeah.
transformation sequence. I was like, yep, that's it. Yeah, I played like a 13-year-old daughter of a noble family that just kept running out of the house at night to go undermine her parents.
That is amazing.
Which was great. Yeah, and then I got into, moved away from North Carolina out to, by way of California up to here, and then got into a second edition group with some old high school friends, one of which is in chat, King Kings. Hi, Parker. Um,
Hello.
and
Welcome.
in that, I started playing a Pharasmic Cleric, which is a deep departure from my Pharasmic roots. Also, the first time I actually enjoyed playing a Cleric, which was really nice. But then our GM Keshav sent me a link to a Paizo job posting and said you should apply for this, and I did. And I didn't get it, but I got the second one, and that's why I'm here now. So,
All
yeah.
right, cool. And Trippy Darlin suggests a new game, 20 questions to narrow down a PC build.
PC build.
Well, it
I
works.
like that.
It works better because like most of the people here who talked about when they were starting, it was all different times. But Calliope played a class that was one of the classes that I worked on first. So,
Oh,
well, all of the designers worked a little bit on the Vigilante, and I worked on the Stalker and did some of the chassis consolidations at the end. And then freelance, we sent freelance out to Amanda to write some of the archetypes, and specifically asked her to do the magical child. So
it was so much fun. My group hated me.
why did they
I'm an
hate?
instigator all the time.
Oh,
and
okay.
Playing like a teenager just gave me so much more license to be.
Oh,
the
I
shitty
see.
Instigator.
That's why.
It was fantastic.
I
We
mean,
launched a halfling out of a cake. It was good times.
All right. Well, you've answered the first question and the second question because you've segued into how you got started working at Paizo too.
Yeah.
So that is both of our first two questions.
So just sort of a random question: whereabouts in North Carolina did you live? Because I grew up in Raleigh. That's where,
I
I was
lived
born
in Carborough, so just west of Chapel Hill.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah, I lived there for I think 2.5 years, maybe 3. I moved out there because I just wanted to get out of California because I don't really like California. I was born and raised in California, and North Carolina was great, but that's where I came out as trans, and that was not super great for me to stay there, so I left, and now I'm here.
Because
Which
it
is
may
much
not have
better.
been the
Yeah.
best place to be at that time. I can see that.
Yeah.
So how are you liking the general Seattle area so far? I know that now is not necessarily the most the time when you get to see what a community in a place is like the most, but
Yeah, I moved to Seattle like I think almost exactly like a week and a half before the lockdown, and so I took the bus out to the Museum of Pop Culture and saw their tattoo exhibit, which was awesome, and that was
Nice.
the last thing that I did outside, and I haven't driven my car in a month, and but I really like it up here. Just in my interactions, the brief interactions I've had, I lived in Monroe for a little bit before coming closer to Seattle, but the whole area in general is really nice. The climate reminds me of Santa Cruz, where I grew up, and I think it's going to be great once I go outside again.
All right. Thanks for giving gift subscriptions, Trippy and Altro. And also, King of Kings said that your hijinks was not the class's fault of the magical child or
Yeah,
the
no,
vigilante.
it's always I legit I'm working on being less of an instigator in games. I have this like bad trend where I find like drawbacks or negatives to characters. It's not a bad trend. Really fun to play, and so like I'll intentionally trigger a trap or something just for the sake of making an interesting environment. The problem is that I don't always make sure my teammates are away from that when I do that. So that's what I'm working on, is being like more of a team play instigator.
Yeah, we have a player like that who plays the negatives, but it's not towards like things that are going to get people killed. It's just generally he really, really likes playing low mental ability scores. Like, not because he can get high mental ability scores for it, but just because he likes figuring out, like, how it's going to work for with someone with such low mental ability scores.
particularly he likes to dump charisma.
Well, and also...
Everybody loves to dump
int
charisma,
and
though.
wisdom. I mean, honestly, he dumps all
different,
of them
but
and then has his character
he-
do things that are very unwise.
He had his int and charisma dumping combination one time that was just, like, always said the worst possible thing at any given moment and was really not very
Nice.
intelligent. But, like, had some wisdom and could find things out and knew how to fight well.
Yep, the session where the entire group everyone's character suspected his character of murder was pretty legendary.
Well, he said I needed to make sure he was dead because his character thought that the dead person was faking.
You gotta double tap.
He was crouching over the body, and he then cast Create Water, which removed all of the evidence to try to choke the guy because he thought he was faking. And they said, "Why'd you do that? It removed all the evidence. Why'd you cast Create Water into his mouth?" And he said, "I needed to make sure he was dead."
That's like a very personal way of double checking.
But everyone took it to mean like, I just killed him and I needed to make sure he was dead because he was found over the body.
Oh yeah, no, that'd be a hard one to explain.
Yeah.
King of Kings says, "What if you were a player who does this regardless of stats? Asking for a friend."
Asking for a friend, Parker. Very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to remember to like dump my wisdom stat to match how I actually play. Yeah. My other character right now is a lizard folk in a different system that shall not be named. Is a lizard folk druid who is just this antisocial mess of a character that is really fun to play, but also that one is actually like surprisingly not an instigator. But I'm also playing a Skyphosen. What's the jellyfish race in Starfinder? Skyphosen. Skyphazone.
I don't remember.
The trouble is that first you have to remember how it's spelled, and then you have to try to figure out how it's pronounced. And
it's Scyphozon, I think. Skyphazone. It's the jellyfish one.
It's probably Skyphazone or Skiphazone.
Yeah.
Skiphazone. Jellyfish Vanguard. And
yeah.
I just started that one on experience points, and that's a really fun class to play because I just like flavored my Tacklash as one of my tentacles, so I just like tentacle slap things as a jellyfish.
So experience points is one of your podcasts. Can you tell us a little bit more about the podcast you're on?
Yeah, EQP or experience points is our sister cast. I've done a couple of like crossover episodes, but my podcast and Parker, the King of Kings, is on it as well. Is Roll to Fail, and we started that like, gosh, 2.5 years ago now. It's been a while. It's been a long time. And we started with Starfinder with the homebrew campaign, and I think, don't quote me, but do quote me, I think we were the first homebrew podcast because we started just a skosh after Cosmic Crit. And it was, so we started with Starfinder. We did that for a year of homebrews as I was the GM, and then we swapped out GMs for a different system, Shadows of the Beanstalk. And then, so we set it up initially. I just kind of got the bug to do a podcast because I thought it'd be fun to just kind of do for like, I don't know, 5 or 10 people. We have a very small but very dedicated listener base of like 90 or 100 people, roughly an episode, which we've grown over the last couple of years. But we started it out with the idea of just a way to kind of keep in touch with our friends because we're all in different cities, and so it's all remote, which was a devil of a thing to work out how to do with audio processing. But yeah, we started with Starfinder, and I was the GM there, and then we used to do these little one-shots in between major episodes that were one-page RPGs by Grant Howitt, who makes some awesome little short RPGs. They're really easy to play. And then we swapped out to the Shadows of the Beanstalk system, which is Genesis from Fantasy Flight, which has that really cool narrative dice system. And then we had a couple people leave the cast, so that ended very abruptly.
Oh yeah.
And I'm now GMing for the new arc, which is Into the Odd, which is a really fun system. I do not remember the author's name. Please forgive me, but Google it. And it's I got it set in like the 1910s alternate history when the Tunguska meteor event brought like these strange magical artifacts from space that leach this kind of odd energy into the soil and start making things weird. So it's very heavily influenced by like the new weird fiction genre and like Lovecrafty and stuff like that. And it's just a fantastic system to work with. But yeah, so
the author is apparently Chris McDowell.
Yes.
All right.
That's right.
There you go.
Yeah, and then from the start, experience points, we linked up because we were both fledgling podcasts, and Kelrick and Kenny and I became fast friends, and we're kind of co-podcasters. We do a lot of like overlap episodes, and I joined the EQP Starfinder cast. The first episode was just a couple of weeks ago, actually, and we're recording again tomorrow.
Nice.
Yeah, EQP has the Starfinder arc, which I'm in, which they're doing um, the oh my god, I can't remember it. The Burning Brass Soldiers of Brass. I think the second AP
In the sun,
the Sun one.
yeah,
Dawn of Flame.
Dawn of Flame.
Dawn of Flame. Thank you. I was like Burning Brass Soldier something. Yeah, we're doing that, and they also have a new Minara cast that's really fun. So yeah, I'm all over the place. I am in, let's see, Into the Odd, EQP, and Pathfinder, and I'm also GMing a Burning Wheel campaign. That's another homebrew one that's not going to come out for a long time. So like 4 games a week, which is a lot, but it's fun.
That's pretty cool.
That's really intense.
So
how do you with that much GMing, and also like GMing for and GMing for public consumption as well, like how do you keep all those details straight and get everything prepped?
When I did the Starfinder arc, I had kind of, well, when I still gave still gave a hoot. I don't know if I can swear or not. When I still gave something
yeah.
in the Starfinder in the Starfinder arc, I had these really meticulous notes and like outlines and stuff, and I still used a larger outline, but the back half of the Starfinder arc of RTF was entirely pretty much improv and ad lib, which worked out really well because we had a really good cast for that. But with Into the Odd now and the Burning Wheel game, I've been taking a lot of notes and outlines, and so I have an idea of going into it, especially since it's all homebrew, of basically trying to set everything, set the scene for a lot of things better. So I spent a lot of time looking at like the 5 senses of a room in order to like give a better description, because we don't play with the tabletop visual or anything like that. It's all theater of the mind. I find that it helps like root me in the game world and also help the players out when it comes to that.
So when you say the 5 senses of the room,
just trying to like, instead of just, I used to write a lot of, I find myself like when I was introducing a room, if I hadn't written it out, I would usually just stop at sight. And so I found that like bringing sound, smell, taste, and touch into the equation makes for a really interesting room, versus like Into the Odd, the players were experiencing like this room on this kind of like semi-organic metallic coral, and where I would have like initially described it as just kind of like that, just like a room full of coral that had coral walls and ceiling and floor, bringing in like the salt spray taste that you can still taste from the outside surf, the sound of the ocean pounding, and then like the general like wetness and feel and sensation of the room really makes like the description just pop a lot more, and it helps center me in terms of remembering to like announce things, because I can get so caught up in like my own headspace of like what I see and like trying to actually remember like, oh, I need to tell my players that.
Cool. So it's called Roll to Fail. Is that is there a story behind the name of Roll to Fail?
It was the least bad name that I came up with. I came up with like 4 or 5 names, and I pitched them all to the group. I'm like, hey, we gotta have a name. And I got really like stuck on Starfields, and they talked me out of that, which I'm thankful for, because
is that Starfields with a D?
Starfields, like
or Starfields like
no,
feelings?
like Starfields, but like you see the logo and it has a bunch of hearts around it.
Got it.
That was pretty much what it was going to be.
And Skittermander is holding the logo.
That would have been awesome. But it was like a good name, but only for Starfinder. And since we knew that we were only going to do like a year-long arcs, because we wanted to have the rotating GMs, because a lot of the people on the cast hadn't GM'd before or had GM'd once or twice, and like I've GM'd a lot, so I wanted to give them time to like plan out their own stuff. And Lauren, who's also on the cast with Parker, is planning a kind of like a Norse mythology inspired arc, which hopefully will be sometime in the next year. But I'm excited for that too. So
Cool. So it's not about failing in particular. It was just a cool name.
yeah, we fail a lot, and we just kind of embraced in that because especially like, oh my god, if anybody goes to listen to the Starfinder arc, the first like 3 or 4 episodes are rough. Not only just like, and we're just kind of finding our characters, but also like all of the audio editing I did self-taught, and like up until episode 6, it's pretty ugly. But it's really good now, and I've learned so much about audio processing and editing, which is a really fun like kind of hobby to pick up along the way.
I thought you were gonna say that they lost the fights or had to retreat, in terms of the fail, but it's more of like a more of an editing fail. And honestly,
Yeah.
our early episodes,
Oh god.
before we got the Yeti mic, it really popped.
Who's been here
the
long enough to
time.
remember the death screech that this webcam did when we had it? Sometimes it'd be like la 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 la, the volume's fine, and then suddenly this super loud, super high
Players.
yeah, the word players was awful. Well, because it's like we didn't have a proper mic and haven't really been trained to speak in a way that doesn't pop. So like we do have a Yeti mic now, and that covers for a lot of sins. But
It makes a huge difference having good mics.
Mm-hmm. Elf Trolls, remembering the pre-Yeti era.
yeah.
It was a rough time
Mm-hmm.
for everyone.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I know that we've had an episode where we talked about Theater of the Mind, and Mark and I have done Theater of the Mind before, but when we do Theater of the Mind, like at the very least we've then been able to send visuals over to people and things like that. So
Mhm.
how do you do a Theater of the Mind game that assumes that people can't like see what you're doing?
I think Starfinder is probably the best example for that because Genesis is very abstract in ranged combat with like ranged combat bands for distance, but Starfinder is such a grid-based, experience that running that in Theater of the Mind really came down to it's not our arc for that, and for a lot of our games are, I think the most diplomatic way I could say it is like rules light, in the sense that we use because there's no ability to kind of really work with range that's clear. It comes down to like, is this person in range? I'll say yes or no, and our kind of catchphrase throughout the cast, as Parker just pointed out, is rule of cool, which I think somebody said rule of cool suck it, and that's like the full phrase at that point. So it's like if a player wants to do something, it definitely unbalances. There's a lot of systems that we weren't able to use, like attacks of opportunity became much more of like, if somebody's in melee range and then that person runs, then that's a trigger for it. But in terms of like spell ranges or cover, cover was almost something that we never used because we lost the grid. And I think that we did lose out on like a good amount of the tactical gameplay with that, but we were always, and we have been, and we continue to be much more RP heavy in Theater of the Mind. And so it really came down to combat would take the form of more of just exchanging volleys, kind of like, like old musketeer lines of just like exchanging volleys of attacks and damage rolls and spells and healing, but with more kind of description of like, Parker played a Solarian, so his catchphrase is "ooh, bodyguard," of like always trying to use the bodyguard trait.
Yeah.
But like, he described of like diving in front of a shot or jumping up on top of something, and it's like stuff that like my player would be like, oh, I want to jump on top of that robot and then shoot down into it while pulling out wiring. I'm like, yeah, we'll figure out a way to make that work, and just like try and figure out some roles that'll make that happen. So it's very fast and loose. I really do like playing with the grid. The Pathfinder game I'm in, we have a grid, and I think that's through Roll20. I think that's really fun, and it has its merits. But I've also come by necessity to really appreciate Theater of the Mind, just from just kind of really it helps most in the RP sense.
King of Kings says it helps until we race. Is there a story here?
Yeah, this is speedrun strats was another one of the party catchphrases where charging into an area or through an area or through an encounter were became a like a default or de facto strategy, which worked out pretty good for the most part.
Trippy snaps for allowing shenanigans.
Shenanigans are always fantastic.
Mm-hmm. I mean, my favorite part of being a GM is when players do something that I did not see coming.
Yeah, I really love that too, and I think that the last like 2/3 of that campaign being almost entirely improvised really helped or landed itself well to the theater of the mind, because I didn't really have a set plan. Like I had story beats that I wanted to hit, but that was about it. So rolling into an encounter, it was really fluid, and I think that works best with theater of the mind. I think if I tried to pull that with a grid or tabletop, it would just nosedive real hard.
Because you don't need to have a map at the ready.
Yeah, because it's all just kind of describing the rooms. Like I had this whole puzzle dungeon when they went to Akaton, to the Contemplative Enclave, and designing that puzzle dungeon was really just sort of room by room. Each room presented a puzzle that could be solved without, maps or player aids, which was entirely based. They took a lot of notes and like sketched things out on their own ends, but that was more so by necessity of just everybody being in different spots. We didn't have the bandwidth. Some of us lived down the sticks, so we didn't have the bandwidth to share video or anything or have a tabletop. So I think we initially used Roll20 actually for the first couple of episodes, but we found that we kept falling on the crutch of like, I'm going to move here and then attack that guy, which when we put out the audio podcast is just terrible listening. So you're, as a listener, you're sitting there and going like, I have no idea what's going on because they're just pointing at a screen that I can't see.
Yeah.
We were not smart enough to figure out how to say like EQP does, which is like, I'm going to move up to this barrel and then shoot that guy way in the back, which is a way better way of doing it.
But I mean, to be fair, so like, if you're used to playing when people can see what you're talking about, and then suddenly it's like, oh wait, no. Then it would be like having to train yourself out of a habit.
No, it's like having to always repeat the question when you're a moderator at a panel that's being streamed, because everyone in the room can hear it, but your microphone is what like the people who are being streamed to will hear, so you have to train yourself to do that, or else a lot of people forget.
Yeah.
So we have a question here. As a GM, what are your favorite things that players do, and what makes a session great for you?
I think the unexpected things are really fun, but I think when I see a player like really engage with their character, I've GM'd a lot of games, and sometimes you'll get a player who will show up with a paragraph backstory, and then throughout the course of the campaign really actually lean into their character and start building this holistic and complete person or creature or whatever it is. And I think seeing that actualization of what may have started out as like, I want to be a barbarian and a basic tragic backstory, turning into something that the player is obviously really enjoying and is able to grow into something that's more nuanced and complex. And then in terms of like what makes a good session, if things die, if social encounters go horribly wrong, and if the party goes in the exact opposite direction that I was hoping they would, usually makes for the best episodes that we've had. Have been ones where like I'll have this idea of like, oh, they're gonna go like the nightclub on Akaton. I had them go to this like, I think what I called a dust club, which is like a club that had like atmosphere aerosolized drugs or something in it. So it's like this big dance party. And one of my players went out the back door and shot somebody in an alleyway. And so it turned into this whole like, cops showed up, and it was my whole thing was like, we're gonna have a nice episode where they go to the club and they're gonna dance, it'll be great. And then it's like this massive like Grand Theft Auto style chase through the streets trying to escape the cops, and it was great. It was terrible, but it was great.
So I saw this is completely unrelated to this current topic, but I saw a comment a while up that was saying that somebody really liked the cloth on the wall behind you.
Yeah, I got that from Amazon. I wanted something to put on the wall because I got it like maybe 2 weeks after I moved in, and like I can't see it, but I have like a bunch of pride flags on the wall behind the camera. But I wanted something to kind of break up just the white space on my wall, and so I went on Amazon and looked for wall covering, and I liked the colors, and so I got it.
Cool.
It makes me think of kind of like a tarot deck, so I was wondering if it was
I
related
know
to that.
that's why I got it, because I have actually this I have a tarot deck that kind of has a similar like imagery on it, and I really liked how it came out. And like it breaks up the white space on the wall. I don't know why I'm grabbing random stuff to show the camera, but it breaks up the wall, and
so everyone can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's a basic tragic backstory for a barbarian? Is that like the dragon killed my entire village and now I'm a dragon totem barbarian? I hate that dragon.
That was exactly it. It was the dragon that wiped out the village.
Oh wait,
I don't think.
Wait, was literally 100% the thing you were thinking of was exactly the thing that I said.
It wasn't. I don't think they were a dragon totem barbarian, but their backstory was that they were raised in like a mountain tribe of barbarians that I can't remember what color dragon. I think it was supposed to be a black dragon. Came through and just arbitrarily decided to destroy the whole village, and they survived by hiding under the bodies of their family, and they vowed revenge, and that was the barbarian backstory.
So that's literally so much the basic
so
tragic
basic
backstory
that
you
I guessed it exactly.
Yep.
But if they have an anathema to kill black dragons, then they actually are dragon instinct. But that's only in PF2.
Yeah, this was back. This was like the first game I GM'd, which was D&D 3.5. I think as soon as I played 4, I don't going backwards.
I don't think you can be a dragon totem in there, although you could be a dragon shaman class, which was in Player's Hand. Or no, in Dragon Man. I can't remember. It was somewhere. It was like an at-will Dragon Breath class. Stump Monkey.
I think there were a Dragonborn too, which was even funnier.
Oh, so there were a Dragonborn that was killed by dragons. All of the rest of the Dragonborn village.
No.
Oh.
Yeah, they got better.
I think Linda's only D&D 4th edition character was a Dragonborn.
Was he a paladin?
Paladin of Bahamut?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
We only played a few sessions. That was just like when we were visiting your parents and we were hanging out with some of your old high school friends and relatives and stuff.
Yeah, and they wanted to try it out.
Yeah. It was fun.
I've played a few more times than that too, but
yeah, I like the character creation in Path. I realize that a frequent joke in the Pathfinder game is every time that I'm like, oh, I like this system, because I'm still kind of new to 2nd edition. I mean, we've been playing for like 4 or 5 months, but I find new things all the time. But every time now, since I started working at Paizo, every time I say, oh, I really like that system, I just get like this like sensation of like I'm shelling for Paizo, where it's like, no, I generally enjoy this system.
That's okay. When I say I like the system, it sounds even worse because I wrote so much of the system.
Shilling for Paizo of your own volition voluntarily on your own time? What's that?
Yeah. We would never do that.
No.
We just like interviewing any customer service representative from any company.
Yeah. Just crazy random happenstance.
Just coincidentally. Rico says, think how much worse it would sound if Mark didn't like this.
Like
that'd be a hard one to sell.
Self-hating designers would be like, everything I did is terrible and you should never play.
No, we totally play it.
All right. So Trippy has a tangential question, which is, what is the best part about working for Paizo to you so far?
I was so excited to have a job that I actually wanted to go to the office. Like, when Keshav, our GM, kind of was like pushing me like, "Hey, go apply to this, go apply to this." And I was in this like horrible job working from home, which I had been for like a year, and I was so tired of working from home. I was so ready to go to the office and have friends at the office and do all this fun stuff at the office. And I got day and a half of training because the shutdown happened, and I'm back working from home. But I'm far and away the best thing is like the community. It's so many just like-minded nerds at Paizo, and it's all the different internal work chats are really fun to be a part of, and just everybody is just super fun to talk to, and I'm so excited to meet everybody in person, beyond the veil of the computer screen, and someday.
Yes.
You'll find out which people are real people and which only exist as chatbots on our work chat.
Everyone that I've seen in our work chat is a real person who exists, except for I can't vouch for Ianara because she also joined virtually and remotely. So never actually met her IRL, but everybody else I've actually met.
Yeah, I got to meet the warehouse staff because when I went in for training with Joanne, it was just us two in like the whole top of the building, which was just the eeriest thing. And then the warehouse folks who are lovely. And then I got sent home with a computer, and now here I am.
I see.
People are talking about running Linda's quest for prepping for PaizoCon and Osirian Tombs.
That'll be good.
So how does being a customer service representative from home work?
Well, a couple of us I think are still remoting and using like a virtual desktop, which is super slow and difficult. But I have a computer that was given to me, so I have it set up on my desk, and basically we can do all the same things that we do at the office. Like I can do like maybe 40% of the stuff now because I got like thrown into the deep end, which is good. Like I can swim really well. I'm very good at treading water, and the 40% of the stuff that I can do very well. Yeah, I think. I hope. But it's basically like just any other working from home job. You have your email client up, and you. For me, I spend most of my time in the inbox because that tends to be the forum moderation thing I don't understand how to do, and that will come in time, but that time is not now. So it's basically just going through the large email backlog that is slowly being chipped away at, thankfully, and helping people out with whatever manner of questions, from community questions and getting GM stuff changed around for online games, or refunds, or missing packages, or printing errors, whatever it is that somebody needs a hand with. That is what CS does, and we can do that from home. And
I saw a Reddit thread recently about someone who was really happy because it was going to go to their wrong address because they had moved, and then you guys got it fixed for them like right away and responded to them very quickly, and they were super happy.
I am so glad that was a positive story. Yeah, we had a few that, especially with the quarantine stuff, a lot of people, I guess, like have their work addresses for delivery, and so I think there was like one day, a couple of weeks ago, where I just went through the inbox and I just searched for everything. It's like I just searched for wrong address, and I was like, this is what I'm going to do today. I'm going to try and fix all of this stuff.
So it might have been you who fixed that one that was on there. It was like 6 hours ago, so it was today.
Then it's quite possibly me.
Yeah, it said they got a notification this morning that was correct, and they were so glad. And they're glad to support Paizo because the customer service is so awesome. And then a bunch of other people responded saying that nothing but positive experiences. Paizo customer service is aces. That's Paizo for you, top-notch customer service. Here, I'll put the link because you're in the
People are being nice on the internet.
I'm definitely going to be reading that tonight for a little pick-me-up.
It's super short, but everything in it is positive.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Yeah, I'm going into the office tomorrow, which I'm super excited about, to do returns, which means that I get to leave my house, which
there you go.
So good. So good. Yeah, so that's what CS looks like from home. It's just you're just at a computer. You're doing the same thing, but at home and with less people to shout out for help.
It's just like what game design looks like at home.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
Game design literally looks like this because you're usually sitting at the computer you're sitting at right now.
That's true.
To do your stuff, and then I'm sitting a few feet over that way on the couch.
That's
If
true.
my webcam was on when I was working, which I'm thankful that it's not, it would be this, except in like a robe, and just tippy typing away.
So, question from chat: how do you stay motivated?
To work from home.
I don't know. It's your fellow player who was asking.
Parker, why? What are you doing to me? I'm gonna interpret that as how you stay motivated working from home during quarantine, and that is taking a lot of very brisk walks around the house to like disengage from the computer screen every like hour or so, just to kind of like when you're working in office, you can lean over and chat with a coworker for like 30 seconds to kind of maintain your sanity. But when you're working from home, sometimes it's good to, at least for me, it's good to stand up and go walk to the kitchen and walk back just to kind of keep moving and just take a break between what you're so intently focused on. It just kind of is what it is. So I open my window when it's daytime and I look at people walking their dogs. I look at the dogs, not the people. It's weird if I look at the people. I look at the dogs because there's a lot of dog walkers around here, and it's slightly motivating. The outside world is still there, which is a good thing to remember.
Mm-hmm. You have the experience, like, because I've gone outside a few times for errands and stuff like that, waving to people, and it's like, oh wait, I forgot how to social with a person IRL, because.
Yeah, I was doing like a few grocery deliveries for some folks over the last few weeks, and like going from like I usually do it like after work, and like going from like not really like opening my mouth the whole day, just like typing, to the grocery store where I have like the mask on, and then like doing all the shopping, and then like usually I just drop it off and leave. But like when I hit the checkout stand and I had to talk, it was like this just weird moment where it's like I literally haven't said anything all day, possibly for a couple days in a row. And just that shift to like, oh, I need to be social now can be kind of jarring. And I think like the first time that things are open again and I go like out to a bar, it's probably be like just an overwhelming experience. I'm hoping in a good way.
I wonder if anyone gets to the point that they're like so used to online communication that they like go to put an emoji on while they're talking to someone and then realize they can't because they're talking to them out loud.
Oh wait, I have to do this smiley thing with my face.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta recreate the emojis. I definitely use like shorthand from chat when I'm talking to my roommates now, like TLDR or IMO or like stuff like that, which I'm trying to get out of because it's kind of obnoxious. But yeah, it's bled over a little bit from the various chats.
That's happening to me too. You're not alone there.
Yay, solidarity.
Yay! I saw a comment, we forgot our own name.
Yeah. It'll get better.
It will.
That's a thing to remember.
So do you find that that doing the podcast and gaming with folks remotely is helpful to you?
Oh yeah. I would go absolutely nuts if it were not for the multiple social groups that I interact with throughout the week. If it's like on Discord with the RTF Discord, or just in getting together and play Pathfinder on Roll20, having that like social moments, before and after the games where you can just kind of catch up with people is invaluable. Because I love my roommates, but they're here all the time. And I love my roommates a lot more when they went to work. Or I went to work, or that it wasn't just constantly around the house all the time. I think that would be with whoever I lived with. It's like I'm an introvert and I can't be an introvert when there's always people in the house. And so it's good to have kind of like the distraction social stuff that's more distanced, and I don't know, it's nice.
Yeah.
It is one of the few times being an introvert has been an advantage. Yeah.
Fortunately, Linda and I don't mind hanging out with each other.
That's good. I think that's, I would hope so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess what I tell them sometimes is like, it's like, I can't deal with people right now, but you don't count as people.
Yeah, I don't count as a person to Linda. For her introversion.
For my introvert senses.
But it's still funny to just say, but from Linda's metric, I don't count as a person.
Yeah. I did a lot of work in the past where I was like either working alone or working with like only one person. So I've been really excited to do like the office stuff, but I'm also really accustomed to kind of working independently, which has been kind of a godsend for this particular scenario.
Right. So Trippy is wondering, are there things you look forward to that you haven't gotten to experience yet for your job?
Yeah, I think meeting everybody, like, I know I'm kind of like repeating the last thing, but like meeting everybody at Paizo is going to be really nice. And having like, I think I'll be able to learn like the rest of the stuff that I don't know how to do. Right now, if like there's something that comes up and like, I don't know how to do this, I just put in the CS chat and like, please help, somebody please help me. And they all are fantastic about, you know, like explaining things. They do a really good job over text, but I'm looking forward to being able to like pick up on that stuff passively in the office, like when we're all working together, which I think is going to be really nice. And also to continue to get terrified by that statue of Sully and Mike Wazowski.
Oh, right. Yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah, that's
in
those
the
statues
stairwell.
are like...
That thing scared the absolute heck out of me the first time that I went down the stairwell.
Well,
I don't know
think
why it's there, but it's there.
If they were real and it was actually those characters, they'd be happy that they scared you, since that's like their actual job.
Have you found the random like picture of some guy's face that's hidden in the plant by customer service?
No, that sounds like something that I would love to have been a part of, and
Oh, boy.
hopefully.
Well, no, I hadn't heard about it, and I found it after being at the company after like a year and a half, and I'm like, is there a picture of a guy's face in this plant? And the people are like, you didn't notice? And it's like,
I like that.
So you said the best part so far is meeting everyone virtually, and the thing you're most looking forward to that you haven't done yet is meeting us in person. But what happens when you meet like me and find out that actually I'm pretty terrible in person compared to just on the computer? Is that just gonna negate itself out?
Yeah, I can still cancel out and we just won't talk to each other anymore. That's a risk I'm willing to take.
All right, sounds good.
again with the unnecessary self-deprecation.
I wanted to use myself as an example instead of just saying meet people at the office, because it would sound like I had someone I was thinking of at the office that you wouldn't want to meet or something like that.
Ah, fair enough.
I'm sure I'll get super annoying too in person. So it'll all balance out, and then we'll all learn to hate each other together.
Hooray, that makes us a family.
Oh dear. Yeah, says I can't imagine Mark being Hora remembers all the bad player examples. Oh. If you're not familiar with this, in a lot of our episodes, Mark likes to come up with examples of hypothetical people being bad players that are so extreme that nobody has probably ever seen a player that bad in real life. So that nobody ever feels bad that they're being called out. But that does often lead to Mark coming up with ridiculous, periodically bad players that I then have to come up with how I respond to as a GM.
Right, because I don't want to play it only partway to that, because some people, like, that's their play style, and they'll feel like I'm calling them out. But if it's so obviously beyond the pale in certain direction that it's clearly, like, beyond the event horizon, then nobody's going to be like, that was me, and I feel called out. And so...
Yeah.
I like that. It's a good strategy.
Yeah. And sometimes I just have to stare at him and be like, how did you come up with that?
Stunt Monkey says Mark plays a bad player horrifyingly well. You know, in GM 201, which is sort of a thing that we did at PaizoCon at one point before working at Paizo for, like, organized play, they have a deck of cards that are like bad player situations or weird situations that you have to deal with as the GM, and it was definitely fun. They gave me one where my character like demanded that the sleep spell worked some way that it did not work, and like just refused to give up on my interpretation of the rules no matter what. Was like that was my part. So
Yeah.
I was saying things like I was like the core rule book is is like what was it? It's a sacred text that was passed down from the heavens by Jason Bowman. You must follow every word that was written in it.
Except that part that says modify the rules.
Yep, not
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
part. Not
Not
that
that part.
part.
Every
That part is just for losers.
I remember in that one I was playing the role of a child that wasn't paying attention, and it got really derailed because the GM tried to appeal to like getting the parent to control the
But
child.
the card didn't have
But
a
the card
parent,
didn't say
and they
anything about
didn't
a parent,
cast a
so
parent.
I'm like, I don't know where my mom is, and then it's just like, oh. So then it got derailed. So like,
How did you
well,
get here?
Pathfinder!
She said she was just going down to the dealer hall for a while, and she'd be back.
Linda, you've never had to deal with parents leaving their kids at your game, did you?
I have actually had that experience in real life with parents who just say they're going down to the dealer hall for a bit and don't leave me with contact information and leave me with their 5-year-old.
That was after GM201, though.
Yes.
That sounds horrifying.
They
Oh, we
came
got
back
squirreled.
eventually.
Yeah, we got
We
squirreled.
got squirreled.
We got squirreled.
It's okay.
Yep.
I think we started it with talking about meeting people in person.
Yeah, we did.
So it was like
Yeah.
relevant for a while, and
And
then
then
it
we
just
got to-
veered off.
Yeah. Whew.
Yeah, I
There's
guess
a
like
question. What do I do? What would I do if someone put a live fish on my table? Okay. So, is this okay? So I would need to tell this person that I don't really like the smell of fish and ask them to put the fish away.
is the fish in a bowl? Is it like
I
mean,
was just-
the implication of live is like
Yeah.
currently alive, but like
Yeah.
shortly
Is it
not.
in a bowl? Yeah. That's a question too. Like a
Just
small
like a
fish
whole
bowl.
10-gallon aquarium.
A small fish bowl could like possibly fit on the table, but
So many squirrels. There should be like fish emojis at this point, but yeah.
I earned the triple squirrel. I
Yeah,
feel
we could just
satisfied
we
with
could
my
just
squirrel.
say it, like we asked the hard hitting questions to Calliope, like, can a fish fit on the table?
I had a tarantula on my table once.
Great.
That was-
See,
that I used as a monster.
was
we
it
had
a real
glass.
tarantula?
Yeah, this
all right.
giant spider like wandered up onto our table, and I put a glass over it, and then we put all our minis around it, and then fought it until we won, and I took it outside. But it was a really cool live mini that everybody was really afraid of, and myself included.
10 out of 10
Squirrel.
would play from a different room.
Yeah.
There's a question: is that the craziest GM story you have?
Oh my gosh. I think so. I think it was the same. That was my first campaign that I GM'd. I think that's probably the craziest one that I've had. The other one was that like same campaign. One of the cats that my roommates had always used to get up on the board, and so I made the cat a character, and I don't know why, but I called it Kitty Con Carne, and I like made this whole character after like the Puss in Boots character from Shrek 2 or Shrek 1. So with the whole like terrible accent and everything, and it actually became like a party mascot. It was really bad. But the whole thing is like I would hold the cat up and like pantomime out the speech when I was talking as Kitty Con Carne. So like gesturing with the cat, it was a really like chill cat. Gesturing at the cat paws and like get him a little hat. It was good. Yeah.
See,
Anyway, that's
I
probably
thought
the
this was
craziest
gonna be one of those stories of like when the cat jumps on the table and your lid knocks the minis off, and then it's like, oh, everything's dead. But like this was way better. I love it.
Mhm.
The cat became a character. We even got a mini for the cat at some point. Good times. Yes, we took this spider outside. I try not to kill spiders because spider bros are nice. My roommate Sean is terrified of spiders, which is I find hilarious. But I'm terrified of snakes. So he deals with snakes. I deal with spiders. We're good. He's
Yep.
never had to deal with a snake. It's not like it comes up often.
I'm
But if it
definitely
does,
I'm definitely
always-
the Mark Spider. Get it? Take it outside. I'm gonna go hide in the other room now.
Yeah. Just don't think about snakes. It's fine. It's good. We're good.
Don't go to the channel on the Discord that's called Snack.
But
I
if you
synced it.
if you do
Those are
like
cute
snakes,
ones. Usually cartoon
Yeah,
ones.
they are.
Those
It's all
Yeah.
about cute snakes
Little
because
danger noodle ones are cute.
yeah, because
Yeah.
Eleanor and I think that cute snakes are cute. So
I do think like little like ball pythons are cute. Like they have a little cute puppy dog face, but I also don't want to touch them. So it's just it's a nice balance. Oh, it admired them from across the room.
we have snakes and bats and leshies and other cute things.
that's right. But we don't have
Yeah.
spiders because Linda doesn't like spiders, and I don't particularly like them. I just think that they are very helpful because they eat bugs that are really can be a health problem or dangerous or annoying, and they are themselves not. So I try to keep them around so they can do that.
Yeah, they're chill. They're chill little housemates. They do good things. And plus, up here they're not that big, which is nice. There were some very big ones in North Carolina.
Yep, that's
also like a lot of other horrible bugs.
yeah. That's speaking of where that spider fear comes from. Here's one. Is there ancestry you're looking forward to playing that you haven't had time to yet?
I want to play the Pathfinder Lizard Folk. Like I'm really enjoying the Lizard Folk that I'm playing in the 5e game, but I think there's so much more that I could do with it in terms of building. From the available like heritage and feats and stuff, there's just so much more way to express like all these different like the frilled lizard folk would be so much fun. Playing like an intimidation fighter or something like that would be just super great.
Or swashbuckler. If you play a braggart with the frilled lizard folk, it's a really really good combo.
That would be really fun
because you can demoralize them more than once before the 9th level thingy from the playtest. So that it
like that, yeah.
You just constantly charge around, filling up people, and then doing finishers on them.
That would be fantastic. But yeah, nothing from the APG because it's not available yet.
Well, I mean, if you needed it for your own personal use, since you work at Paizo, I'm sure that
could be acquired.
That you could get some APG stuff. Like Jason's stream has a swashbuckler in it, for example.
Yeah, I think Lizard Folk Ancestry, the Leshy one looks really cute too. I'm trying to think of like any other ones that I've always wanted to play. I think those two, like I really like Monstrous and Beast Races. I think they're really fun departure to play, especially when they have like kind of a rich culture in the established system with to go off of, which is really fun. So yeah, cool. Monster races, beast races, that kind of stuff.
The most monstrous ones then, but not just animal ones like a catfolk or or a tengu, but a little more monstrous.
Yeah, like hobgoblins and kobolds, and I like playing weird characters. So
well, kobolds and orcs have been announced for the APG. Plus tieflings, dompiers, and you can be them with any ancestry. So if you want to play a hobgoblin dompier that like has fangs and is a hobgoblin or something like that.
Is that character contractually obligated to have a tragic backstory?
Probably.
I would hope so. I have a problem with character creation. I make like 20, probably on average like 15 to 20 characters for each game that I'm in before I settle on what I want to play.
That is a lot.
And 2E does not help with that because there's so much variability.
15 to 20, I sometimes get stuck on like 4 to 5, and I think that for me can get agonizing and be a lot. Like I had to have Arcane Mark people and people on my Facebook group help me for this Iron Fang game between the character I'm currently playing, an amnesiac psychic who is a Samsaran and only remembers her ancestors and rolls on a D100 chart versus like a Terrakineticist or an occultist and a few others. But 15 to 20 is intense.
Nice.
So for those characters that you don't play because you built them for a game and you don't have to select and do them, do they ever show up when you're GMing as NPCs?
Yes, my probably like my most infamous character in the Starfinder arc was Squirk, which is um, which is based off of a Shadrafan, like I can't remember the class from the Star Wars Fantasy Flight game, that I retooled as a Yosoki, like Mad Doctor scientist. And so yeah, I definitely do like dip from the old character, like either ones that I played or that I haven't played. A lot of times, the ones that I don't end up playing will remain as like statted out to the point of like feats and skills and stuff, but not necessarily past that point. Like I'll have backstory ideas and like they're more like concepts than like fully done out character sheets. So yeah, I definitely rip from those for on the fly NPCs, which is super handy to have that backlog.
Yeah, that seems like it would really help because you would know more about them than you would just some random NPC that you're pulling out.
Mm-hmm. Especially because like every time I GM, it's homebrew, so I tend to just like I'm getting outside of my comfort zone with Into the Odd because I'm writing it entirely beforehand, scripted, which is the same thing I'm doing for the Burning Wheel campaign. But
what? Not playing by the seat of your pants?
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. There's a lot of seat of the pants stuff. Like the actual like dialogue and stuff is all improvised, but like who they're gonna meet, names, and where they're gonna go, and that kind of stuff is very much railroaded / scripted. Which literally in the second episode, it's a railroad that they arrive on a train, so it works out pretty well for that. But yeah.
Trippy is wondering, is asking what you would say to new players as they are first getting into tabletop RPGs or Paizo RPGs.
Oh, everybody's first time into an RPG is amazing. Do not let people tell you that you can't have an edgy character with a tragic backstory. That is a rite of passage. The things that you will mess up and the things that you do that you will look back on cringe at are important touchstones that everybody has to do and everybody should do. I would be very sad to hear if people were deprived of that experience from GM saying, "Oh, you shouldn't do that," or "That's lame." Or something. I encourage dumb ideas or bad ideas or naive ideas just because they're fun, and that's part of what makes TTRPGs so like just such a unique experience, is that ability to do anything and make those mistakes and learn from them and change your horrible backstory of a dragon wiping out your family into something that grows and shifts into something you're proud of by the end of the campaign.
It sounds like also what you're saying there is that even if something is rote and stale and seen a million times, for a new player, that's their first time playing that. So
yeah.
People, would you say that people should not give a new players a hard time if they play like the stereotypical dwarf or an elf that's clearly exactly Legolas or Drist or something like that?
I've had so many Legolases. so many elf archers.
Lego lads and Lego lasses.
Yeah. Lego, yeah. So many elves. But yeah, it's like, what skin off your back is it if you have a player, either a fellow player or a player if you're a GM and they're playing something that you've seen 100 times? I guarantee you haven't seen how they're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So even though it may be a rote idea, it will be a unique interpretation of a rote idea, which is always fun.
Yeah, and characters grow as you play the game and they interact with things. Yeah. Sometimes I find players who are like, this is my character and my character's personality is this, and then the character goes through all these transformative experiences, but yet their personality stays exactly the same.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the person with the longer backstory at the beginning who doesn't adapt as well as the one who didn't have as much.
That's me in the Pathfinder campaign right now. I had this whole long backstory that I forgot like half of. And so we had this like big reveal where the GM read this letter that was signed by my former squire that fell to the necromantic dark side because I'm a last wall sentry. And I just read like signed by Relstaff, and then Keisha was sitting there like waiting for the big like oh god moment, and I just completely forgot that I had a spine. Yeah, it's really good. I make fun of my roommate for that all the time because all of his characters start out as Geralt or like some weird like approximation of Geralt from The Witcher, and I give him so much crap for that. But he always morphs them to something that's unique, which is really cool to see.
Do you
and
toss
people
a
have their
coin
comfort
to
zones
him
like
with
that.
your bard?
Yeah, mandatory. It's like any game he's gonna pull a draw. I'm gonna find a bard, and I'm gonna pay the bard to throw coins at him. Just follow.
I find it fun, like, if I don't have a very solid concept for, like, exactly what I'm going to do with the character, to start with their alignment as true neutral, and then just kind of let it be influenced by the events of the game.
Yeah, it's fun to see, because the easiest way, clearly all behavior can be summed up in like 9 possible alignment choices. So there's
Of
no need
course.
for like fluidity or moving between the alignments or having one action be something that's atypical.
Obviously
yeah.
not.
Definitely, everything can be summed up in a particular choice.
Yes. Here's one. Stumblemonkey says, I love asking players, what new thing did you learn about your character this session? Never required to answer, but it makes them think.
Yeah, that's a good session. That's a good question to ask. I wish, I long for the day that I can GM an in-person game again, because all of the games that I've GM'd in the last like 4 years have been remote, just by nature of distance. And I think that that's something that I could apply to, especially to Parker and Lauren into the Odd Run, especially because that whole system is based around like how this odd and weird changes your characters. I'm really stoked for Burning Wheel for that, because it has systems in place of it's such a rules dense system, and I like it for that. But it has this really cool growth mechanic where it's like you have to fail to grow in your skills.
Yeah.
And one of the cool things that sticks out for me from the book, from reading that, is like, I'm going to undertake this action and I don't know how it's going to change me. And I think that's a really cool concept to think of as a player, and also as a GM when you're feeding these examples to your players. Like I devised this whole homebrew magic system for that. I should stop calling it the Burning Wheel game. It's called Strix. It's this whole homebrew magic system that like you can mix all these different elements that have a lot of danger to them. Like it's a very like wild magic type of thing. And so I'm excited to see how that's going to change players of like when they make that decision to tap into that kind of power, and how that influences them both physically and like mentally after that. It's gonna be neat. I'm excited.
Cool.
Which reminds me to start.
Sounds really interesting.
That.
And if they, I guess, just by the Burning Wheel, if they want to get better at the skills for the magic, they have to succeed sometimes and fail sometimes. So if the failure with the magic is pretty dire, then necessarily anyone who gets good with magic is going to be a very different person at the other side.
Yeah. I really like there's a running theme in most of my games, which you can see in like the Starfinder arc and Into the Odd. Is I like weird and arcane and things that are very truly like dangerous and twisted and enigmatic as magic systems and arcane and artifact systems. So it bleeds into a lot of my writing too in general. But I think it's interesting to look at it like that than from like I cast Firebolt, which is fun to have like those spell systems that are more simplistic for players like that are getting used to it. I think Pathfinder isn't probably the best example of that, but like maybe like 5e or even Into the Odd has some very cut and dry uses of magic. But I like that kind of like open-ended stuff, which is why I spent so much time like putting together this grimoire for the players to use to build their own spells, which I think will turn out really cool, maybe, or terribly tedious. We'll find out.
So do you ever publish these RPG things you write?
No. Well, on the RTF Discord, I have my design doc for the Starfinder arc that's in there somewhere, and then in the Strix channel, because I've been working on this for a year, I have the grimoire up, the maps, and some of the other I've been writing a bunch of short story primers to the world, as ways of interacting with the world while I'm still getting everything together. My whole idea with Strix is I wanted to do a cast that I wasn't pressured on deadlines on. So the idea is to record it all and get it all edited and done, and then release it all at once, like Netflix does, in a way that I can.
So they can binge it.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's really self-serving because I struggle a lot with keeping up with the deadlines. We only do once every other week with RTF, and that is like as much as I can manage. And but I do have these stories that like RTF is very like plucky and happy and like traditional adventuring, but I have this like these stories that I like telling that don't mesh super well with that sometimes, and that's where Strix comes in. It's where I can build this very dark and realistic and very like mud fantasy world that I want to express, but is best done where it's in a semi-scripted environment where it's like, you know, we sit down before and you're like, okay, this is like the scenes that we're going to go into without like spoiling for the players, but also going like, these are things you want to be thinking about as you're interacting. You know, have this mean for this character that you want them to react to this in a certain way or whatever it is. And I think having that as like a big dump for the podcast would allow me to do a lot of editing. I also had this kind of cool idea. I'm just gonna get the description out of the way. The elevator pitch is Strix are like traveling like kind of hedge mages that find, and it's like one part Witcher and then one part like people who like shut like aberrant magic down. So things that are profane that shouldn't be happening. They're they travel the land. They're guided by their owls that lead them to these places. And so with Strix in particular, you know, I wanted to show like kind of like that they're opposed by the existing like government, so like the church in this particular example or whatever. So I had this idea of this asymmetrical campaign where Parker's one of the players in that game, and my roommate Sean is the other as the Strix, where they're going to these places and solving these problems and you know, exercising the ghost or you know, killing the whatever it is. Or I also wanted to like turn some of the tropes, especially witch tropes, on their heads. So instead of, because it's been predominantly really shitty towards women historically. So I wanted to have witchery and witches be presented in a more positive light. But having the asymmetrical idea of having a third player come through after, and I record the whole thing with the two players, and then having a third player come through and then presenting them as like an investigator, where they come through behind chasing the Strix and trying to piece together what they did, by talking to the villagers that they were at.
Are they like someone who works for the church or something like that?
Yeah, and like hunting them, and then seeing if the player would be able to piece together, you know, what actually happened, and then actually releasing the episodes cut up so it'd be concurrent. So it'd be like, you know, the Strix would interact and do this particular scene, and then it would be appended at the back would be the investigator coming behind them. Or even the other way around, having the investigator make their assessment of what happened and then actually finding out what happened from the actual players. I have a lot of grand ideas for this.
That sounds really cool.
In the making, so we'll see if it comes out properly.
Yeah, it sounds like a really cool setup for one of those dark fantasy. You're fixing the things, but everybody's like, your magic is bad settings. Linda and I have definitely played in those types before, but I never thought of the idea of having a split group between the investigators and the actual magic people. I think that would be really great from a narrative perspective, like you were saying.
Yeah, I think it will allow for some very interesting things, especially like if it does eventually culminate in a confrontation, either violent or not, but having that kind of like lived experience through both sides and reconciling those two viewpoints would be really kind of a fun thing to see, like just see how the players handled it.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. This is a comment. The party can't split themselves if you do it for them. That's a super cool idea.
Yeah. Head that off at the pass. It'll be fine. Yeah. So that's Strix. So I can stop calling it Burning Wheel campaign. So yeah, I have a lot of ideas. I'm constantly coming up with ideas.
Awesome.
I like writing a lot, and that's one of the things that I quite enjoy, and have for a while. So it's a good creative outlet for me. So I don't go insane. Not having one.
Cool. Let's see. Have we asked all the questions in chat?
I know we've already kept you for 20 minutes past the hour.
But it's not limited to 1 hour.
No,
it can be however long we have cool content, which we obviously had. I think we answered everybody's questions in chat.
I think so.
Did you have anything else you wanted to mention?
I'm sure I'll forget, and then like afterwards I'll think of something. But no, I think that we covered a lot, and it was really fun to have this interview and interact with the folks in chat too. So I think that's good. I guess you could like check out Roll to Fail and EQ points. It's fun. I think it's fun. I'm biased for one of them. I'm biased for both of them, but they're fun.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Yeah. It's like when you say something that you like in Pathfinder 2nd and work at Paizo. It's okay. You're not just shilling. You're legitimately enthusiastic.
It's shilling, but it's truth. And
that's why it's legitimate.
It's not a paid promotion. It's a volunteer promotion.
That's right.
Of your own stuff. So anyway.
So all right, I think we can say bye to YouTube and then give Twitch those updates again of what's going on. Bye, YouTube. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye, YouTube.
All right, everybody on Twitch, just as a reminder of what's coming up, we've got a lot coming up. This Saturday is going to be Thinking in 3D. Then next week, we have Tuesday, Linda's Plushie Corner. Thursday, interviewing customer service representative Joanne Hong. Then Saturday is going to be Linda's Adventures Council of Thieves. That's Saturday of the week after that, Saturday the 23rd. Then Tuesday will be Mark's Adventures War for the Crown Part 5, final part. Then we go into
being off for PaizoCon.
Off for PaizoCon. Oh, right. Mark's Adventures War for the Crown is after PaizoCon. We're off for PaizoCon. You can get the PaizoCon schedule. And it is up wherever it was before. Let me see. Oh, it's scrolled off.
Yay! Thanks for the cheer, Trippy.
Thanks for the cheer.
Trippy has cheered 800 bits and pride flags.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pride flags. All right. So, thanks for the cheer. Their schedule's up on Paizo.com. You can see there's a bunch of really good official Paizo streams that you should watch. They're going to be up all of that week. We'll have a meetup in the Discord during that time.
Oh, the new Paizo pin has been publicly announced now. Awesome.
Yes, that's right. The Pride pin. It is the best.
Yeah, it's so cool.
And when we get back from PaizoCon, that's when we'll have Mark's Adventures War for the Crown. Part 5 is the June 2nd. June 4th, art director Kent Hamilton's interview. And then June 11th, the week after that, is Tanya. Sure. Well, Paizo doesn't necessarily have a Paizo Discord. There's a PaizoCon Discord that's for the games of PaizoCon. But our Discord, where we're going to have a meetup for Arcane Mark, is tiny.cc/Arcane Mark. And
Arcane Mark's the better Discord, Parker. It's good shit.
Oh, darn it. I went onto the thing to look at the Pride pin,
and it changed it away.
Changed it away to the other. I need
Linda,
to remember that I'm not...
don't go look things up.
I can't stop looking things
Don't help.
Stop helping. You're too much of a Skittermander.
I can't help my Skittermander.
Yeah, there's the PaizoCon info. Also, and remember, Alliance Gaming...
crap, hold on.
What?
I lost them.
You lost everything?
Yeah.
Like the entire stream is down?
No, I lost life.
Oh, okay.
Entirely,
Entirely, or just they can't see them?
No, I lost the Hangout when I closed the other thing, because apparently it was still tied to the same window.
Well done.
Alright.
Okay.
Let's just pull that back. Fortunately, that didn't happen during the actual YouTube part.
Yeah.
I was trying to close the other window and accidentally closed everything.
And there's the magazine about the Advanced Player's Guide.
Alright, so we got the link for the PaizoCon, the link for the
Is Calliope back up that people can see? I mean, we're in the post-show anyway, but yes.
It goes up automatically.
There we go. The Pride pin's there.
Sweet.
All right.
Thank you, Stunt Monkey, for showing the link for the online region of Organized Play's Discord.
That's right. All the Discords everywhere.
Please join the things.
Join whatever ones that you want to join, and we will see you there. I think it looks like some people have Silver King. Is probably King of Kings.
Probably.
All right.
Would be an accurate assessment.
All right, fair enough. So, I think that's it, everyone. So, everyone, I hope you stay safe, stay healthy,
Wash your hands. Take care of yourself.
Take care of yourself. We will see you next time, whether that's on Saturday for Thinking in 3D or just the next time that you show up. Oh, thanks for the cheer, Eli H1414. Let me grab that.
That last minute XP.
Yes, let me grab that last minute XP before we go. Actually, hold on. It looks like Eli was not here, so I'll just give a 5-minute XP ping and then refresh. I'm sure I can get it then.
Yep.
All right.
Sweet.
All the Discords.
Oh, and thanks for a gift sub, Trippy.
Oh, yeah, thanks so much.
Eli is now subbed. Welcome, Eli.
Welcome, welcome.
That's so cool. It's such a great community.
Absolutely.
I love you guys.
The Arcane
You're so
Mark
cool.
community is amazing. We may be small, but we're really, really tight-knit. All right.
Totally.
Alrighty. So, bye everyone. We'll see you next time.
Bye.